You want to know why USC makes the playoffs in 2023? Because they have a defense.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. Show me your appreciation. It means a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, become a subscriber. It's easy. It's free. Click that subscribe button. And your biggest contribution, hit that thumbs up button. It means more than you know. 5 times a week, hit the bell notification button, and you will not miss an episode. This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free white tech hat with any purchase. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise. Yeah, you can see the hat right here. Pretty cool. Lightweight, feels good. All right, check out the rundown. As I said at the very top of the show, USC has a championship defense. Following Tuesday's practice, Lincoln Riley, he hinted that the depth chart is starting to sort itself out. So what is the 2 deep? We know what the roster is now. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks away from kickoff against San Jose State. You're making this your first listen, your first watch on August 10th. USC kicks off on August 26th. Do the math. I don't have time to wait for Lincoln Riley and his depth chart. So here's mine. I'm ready. Remember, you're watching this on Thursday. Next week, USC is in mock game week. Here's who I'm rolling out first. Here's my first team on defense. I know the opponent's offensive personnel that they're going to put out there is going to have a little bit of say in the matter. However, assuming USC does what I anticipate, up front, starting at rush end, you've got Anthony Lucas. He's the guy. He seems to be getting most of the first team reps, what the media sees. And then behind him, and the reason why I'm going with Anthony Lucas is he gives the size, he actually presents like the size of a legitimate 4-3 defensive end, but who can also play that role of speed rusher, stand up. Doesn't need to have his hand in the dirt. Behind him, I'm going to go with the size of Braylon Shelby. But I think Sam Green's going to get the nod. I am just fascinated with Braylon Shelby's athleticism and his size. And this time next year, who knows what type of defense they'll be employed, but Braylon will be on the field. Lincoln Riley made the comment, there's a lot of people who would like to look like Braylon Shelby. Or, here's the other thing. There's depth. Will Jamil Muhammad so is Riley going to go with the veteran, Jamil Muhammad, or is he going to go with the freshman, Sam Green or Braylon Shelby? Good problem to have. I'm not going to mention Romello Height's name until Lincoln tells us he's able to that he can take part in contact drills. So until then, your 2 deep is Anthony Lucas, and you've got guys that he can rotate in, freshman and another veteran in Jamil Muhammad. Don't count him out. At defensive tackle, I'm going to go Jack Sullivan first. Behind him, you could put Bear Alexander. More than likely, that's going to flip-flop a lot. You can put Bear at defensive tackle. You could put Jack Sullivan at defensive end. A lot of versatility. Both can play that defensive end role. Speaking of defensive end, I think I'm going to roll out there with a Solomon. Which one, though, will start? Will it be Solomon Tuliaupupu solo? Or is he going to have a tough time keeping Solomon Byrd off the field because he had at least 4 sacks from the last scrimmage, from what we were told? Transfers, Keon Bars, Bear Alexander are probably good guesses that could be starters at nose tackle and defensive tackle. Again, interchangeable. However, I think Alexander is going to work behind Keon Bars at nose guard. That's the impression I get it from what we see at practice. So the two returners, Stanley Taufo and Tyrone Taleni, those guys are going to run at defensive tackle. I think it should be apparent is that between Stanley and Tyrone and Jack Sullivan and Dejon Benton, you got more than two deep. I think you're going three deep across the board. And I don't know how long it's been since we felt that way, but it's been a while. You didn't hear me mention the name Corey Foreman. At the end of the camp, where's he going to be on the depth chart? While I'm giddy and I'm excited about what USC did during the off season through the transfer portal, I keep lamenting about 2022 and having this kind of depth that prevented USC from making the playoffs last year. Just at the defensive line. We're now going to get into the linebackers. Mason Cobb, Eric Gentry are your likely starters. Something significant would have to change between now and the 26th. Shane Lee, Chris Thompson Jr., Rajon Davis, Tackett Curtis. No particular order there. Those guys are going to be ready when their number is called. So depending on who they're playing and what the defense calls for, does it need to be more pass coverage or more run support? I think that will be the tell of who comes in next behind Cobb and Gentry. My safety combos are easy. Kalen Bullock and Bryson Shaw with Jalen Smith at nickel. That's my first team rollout. Max Williams and Anthony Beavers at the safety combination with Christian Roland Wallace at nickel. I think eventually Zion Branch is going to sneak in there. Just not sure where yet. My cornerback combo, I'm going to Monty Jackson and Jacoby Covington, Thea Wright and Prophet Brown right behind those guys. Whoever starts and whoever goes in as the backups, these first three games are literally glorified walkthroughs. So I would anticipate a bunch of tinkering. And, the coaching staff, they're going to toy around with different combinations until, what did we say? The cream rises to the top. So until that happens, until they really they have a finger on the pulse of these are our starters and these are the backups, anticipate seeing a bunch of combinations through the first three games. And that includes Stanford. So what's your starting defensive lineup? If you were to make a bet, who would you put out there? I know where you can go if you wanted to make a bet, if you want to make a prop bet. Football season is literally just about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. So get your bet in now early. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you're going to get bonus bets for every victory. You can bet your bonus bets on the spread, on player props, under overs, and a lot more than that. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. How much time does Lincoln Riley and Coach Josh Henson need to tinker around with the old line? You see the rundown? We're in the second segment. How much time is needed? And I'm referring specifically to the offensive line. Why am I bringing this up? Why is the question open-ended? Because I had a really interesting conversation with a guy who is really familiar with how the offensive line works. And in fact, it almost got a little heated, our conversation. We're friends, but we always bounce ideas off of each other. Like I said, this guy has an eye for talent, and he actually has some skin in the game. So he was trying to sell me on a different offensive line grouping than the ones that the media gets to see during practice. He said, whatever you guys are seeing, that's not going to be what runs out against San Jose State. And here's the reason. He explained it to me this way. Lincoln Riley and Josh Henson want that competitive advantage. They want to keep everyone guessing until it's time for the opponent to see it on the field. So I sat there for a minute and I thought about it. And then I said, what the hell are you talking about? I might have slipped in a different word, but you get the gist. Riley literally just talked after Tuesday's practice about the scrimmage and how things are beginning to sort themselves out. He was referring to the depth chart. So with less than 2 weeks to go, the one position group where every second counts, of every minute, of every practice, it's got to be the offensive line. For chemistry purpose, gelling together, it's that O-line. I snapped back and I said, why? Why would Lincoln Riley and Josh Henson waste the time in front of the media with some charade? I needed to understand. I needed to dig a little bit deeper. I mean, those minutes, think about how much, you think about the time that the media is allowed in practice, which is limited, but those minutes are still valuable. And they add up over each practice. So my retort and my response was, wouldn't that be just a waste of practice time just to try and gain a competitive advantage? And before anybody gets confused and tries to conflate this with me whining for more media access, no, you're wrong. That's not what this is about. Pay attention. It's free. It won't cost you a penny. This was about me questioning why Lincoln Riley would even consider this type of coaching philosophy. I mean, at a certain point, standing up in front of the media and answering our questions with positive answers to what our eyes are telling us we're seeing, and then coming back and doing something completely different, that would create a trust issue. That's why I could not wrap my head around this whole notion of this is what Lincoln Riley's really doing. And he kept trying to explain the rationale and the reason why. Here's one example. He said, what if, he used my Monday morass line on me. What if they're going to move Jonah to left guard because it's still not settled? You know, they brought in a couple of transfer portal guys, Emmanuel Pregnon, Jarrett Kingston, Gino Quinones as an incumbent returner. But and they're doing this, they're kind of doing what they really want to do when no one's watching. That was his analogy, his explanation, his example. That should have been my first clue. Because literally every time I tried to accept that rationale, I circled back to no way would Riley go to this level of misdirection. Look, wide receivers, running backs, those can be inserted into a lineup and on offense and function with minimal interruptions. A very seamless transition. You hate to lose, like last year, you hate to lose a Travis Dye, but Austin Jones was ready to step right into that void, and he did pretty darn good. The offensive line, not so much. You don't have that same type of latitude, that same luxury. You would like to be able to take one player and plug him in if someone goes down. Absolutely. That's what the backups are for. But I don't think how many days left do we have until we kick off? You're watching this on August 10th, 16 days. Yeah, you don't have, you need to kind of get things narrowed down. Every minute, the starting five gets working together, getting their timing down, their communication signals down, the better the offense will perform. And we all anticipate the offense performing at a pretty high level, considering Caleb Williams is returning, who they have returning at the skill positions and what they brought in. So, again, I doubt that Riley would waste any days or any minute of any practice knowing, because look, I kind of get the sense that he's a pretty detail-oriented guy. I don't want to say a control freak, but most coaches are control freaks. They get labeled as paranoid. Here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Besides quarterback, I think the offensive line positions, it's a done deal. They're still trying to figure out who's playing number 2 at certain positions. The starting 5, it's done. Do not anticipate seeing any more movement. Jonah Monheim is your starting left tackle. I'm going to go out on a ledge and say that Emmanuel Pregnon, E-Man, has learned the playbook. They like his size at left guard. Justin Dedich. I keep saying that Gino and Justin are two of the smallest guys in the offensive line room, and they are. They're still 6'2". They're not tiny. And Justin is still pretty thick. He's a bulldog. So starting center at 6'2", Justin Dedich. Right guard, Jarrett Kingston. Your starting right tackle is Michael Tarquin. Riley doesn't need any more time to evaluate who should be starting. It's done. The next time this person comes at me with this type of discussion, I'll be ready. He kind of caught me off guard, but it was a fun exercise. Let's just put it that way. But I had to turn it around and really say, look, we're not wasting time. Lincoln said, we don't have time to waste. They know what their goals are. Again, even during the limited amount of time that the media is out there, he's not going to play that kind of game. We turn our cameras off for a reason. He doesn't want us filming what we see. And that's why when I talk about, if I talk about a 4 wide receiver set, I'll tell you who's out there, but I'm not going to tell you where they're lining up. That would be giving away a competitive advantage. You don't need to know who's standing at X, Y, and Z. You can see that when they come out for their first game. It's summertime, and that means it's time for you to wear your bird dog shorts and hat. You'll get one free. Bird dogs make you look good because they're designed to fit you slimmer, and they fit you slimmer through the thigh. Guys, comfort means everything. We hate chafing. And it's going to give you that sculptured look. Bird dog shorts do the exact same thing as a Lululemon product, but they fit way, way better. And they definitely fit way better than those regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Sucks. Bird dogs, they also use an anti-stink, anti-sweat wicking fabric, and that's going to keep you cool and dry all day long. Woohoo! I mean, who wants to stink? Who wants to go from working out to talking to somebody and saying, and watching that person's reaction going, whoa, dude, take a shower. There are no trading places. I like wearing my bird dogs because when I look good, I feel good. And that's when I'm wearing them. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for your free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege. You're going to get that free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. All right. Let's talk about, you're looking at the running and saying USC is going to be Notre Dame? Blasphemy. Hear me out. What is Notre Dame? They are an independent football team. Yes, they are a member of the ACC conference, in theory. Chip Kelly is going to get credit for being a smart football coach. He is, no doubt about it. But, you know, he was quoted in the LA Times, and this wasn't his idea. This has been floated around. But he is, you know, he's going to get quoted on this. And I've actually talked about this for a few years now. I wrote about it over there on WeAreSC.com, that college football is going to look different, and it's going to be more like the NFL. Quote, this is what Chip Kelly said. Notre Dame is an independent in football, but they're in a conference for everything else. Why aren't we all independent for football? Take the 64 teams in the Power Five and make that one division. Take the 64 teams in a group of five, make that another division. We play for a championship, they play for a championship, and no one else gets affected. One sport is different than everybody else. We only play football once a week. Travel's not a big deal for football, but it is a big deal for the other sports. Look, when Chip Kelly and I are right, we're right. It's not just going to be USC. Everyone from the Power Five will, in theory, be an independent team from a pool of 60-plus teams. Notre Dame's been able to pull this off. You know, they have some sort of contract where they're obligated to play, 2 or 3 games per year with teams from the ACC. The rest of their schedule, it's up against everybody else. USC and Stanford annually. Like I said, I've said it before. The days of USC playing the likes of a San Jose State and a Nevada out of conference, they're coming to an end. Strength of schedule going forward is going to get tougher, a lot tougher. It's starting to model itself. The scheduling is like the NFL. The NFL has parity, but the difference between the NFL parity and the parity that Larry Scott tried to create, some programs might not be a fit. It's different. USC and Washington State and Oregon State on an annual basis, USC has a lot more to work with, a lot more resources. So keep the conferences around for for basketball, baseball, all the Olympic sports. But football is done with the NCAA. They need to form a new league. The SEC commissioner, he already says he wants to reevaluate the 12-team playoff format that hasn't even started yet. As far as I'm concerned, we really need to start pumping the brakes. Let the schools get situated. Let the new league form that I'm talking about. Hire a commissioner, and then let the league do the scheduling, kind of like the NFL. I will like to look. We want to keep college football special, so I'm going to keep that caveat in there that certain rivalries have to be maintained. Kind of like in the NFL, Cowboys, Redskins. USC in this situation would keep Notre Dame and UCLA. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama. There are certain rivalries that need to continue. They will be part of part of every schedule every year. But from that point forward, imagine USC playing Notre Dame and UCLA every year, right? So you got 2 games. Now we need to get 10 more. Well, you're going to pull from Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin. Let's take some teams from the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, LSU. Now let's start pulling some teams from what we know as the Big 12. You see where I'm going with this? It's the same thing. It's just you're putting it in a blender and you're blending up something different. It's going to have the same flavor, but it's coming from the TV networks, the money, a true playoff format, and again, we're getting rid of the NCAA. You hate to say, well, we're losing college football. We've already lost it. It's been changing. I talked about this during the week. It's happening in front of our eyes. It's just now it's really picked up a lot of steam. That's why everybody's really noticing, wow, things have changed. The Rose Bowl, it hasn't been the same for over a decade. I mean, those are the sacrifices you're making to move the sport forward. That's how much money's involved. Notre Dame has been able to do it. BYU was able to do it. There's no reason why schools like USC and Ohio State and Alabama and Auburn and even schools like Cal and Stanford, why they can't do it as well. So, what do you think? Tell me. Should USC and just, when I say become Notre Dame, should that be the new philosophy, the way to approach things? Eliminate the conferences. You keep them. In fact, that's one way to keep the Pac-12 conference and the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12. You keep those traditions and those rivalries alive in basketball, in baseball, in your Olympic sports. Football is just a different animal. It needs to be treated as such. So let me know. I need the feedback. You know where to find me. You know my Twitter. Hit me up in my YouTube comments, which, by the way, I appreciate. I love it. Even some of the negative feedback I'm getting from other fan bases. Sorry, Oregon. You are coming in. Pennies at the dollar. And I'm going to continue reminding you that. So until the next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.